So hello guys, so we are continuing our teaching series and now we want to talk about punctuation. That's what we're going to be discussing in this particular lesson. Let's look at what are the intended learning outcomes. So in this particular lesson, we expect that we will be looking at how to identify end punctuation marks, then also be able to identify the internal punctuations as you have in structures, as well as be able to use punctuations appropriately in sentence construction. So these are the things that we are going to be doing in this particular lesson. So again, so this lesson is about end punctuations, internal punctuation, and any kind of other punctuation, but essentially by the time we look at them, we study them, we expect that you should also be able to use these punctuations when you are constructing your own sentences. So by way of introduction, so what are we going to talk about? In sentence construction, it's important to indicate that one sentence has ended and another is about to start, or that it is time to break either for a short pause, to have a short pause, or because you have a certain quotation, or you want to present a list, or another part of the sentence is about to follow. So these are the things that the punctuation marks are used for. Now, other times also punctuation signal maybe that you have abbreviations, you have proper noun, you have omission of certain letters. Anyway, which again yeah, you may want to call that some of them, like in the case of abbreviations, of course, or maybe you are not using, like when you have doctor, you have just the D and R. So some of these things are used, are places where punctuations are used. Some sentences also require one type of punctuation only, while others require more than one. So we are going to look at all of them in this sentence. So let's start with end punctuations. Now, what are these end punctuations? What do they mean? What are they about? Now, these are punctuation marks which come at the end of the sentence. So you conclude a sentence, and that's like the name says, is an end punctuation. So this particular punctuation help you to conclude a sentence. Now, they include full stop, or some of us call them period marks, and then you also have the question mark, and then you have the exclamation mark. So all these kind of examples help you to end a sentence. Then now the use of one of these excludes the use of other. So if you are having a full stop, you are not using question mark. If you are having an exclamation mark, you are not actually using a question mark. So these are the, or a full stop. So these are the way that's why we say they are mutually exclusive. So now let's start with the full stop or period, as the case may be. So how do you now, you use it to mark the end of a declarative sentence. So if you have a sentence, of course, if you remember, like when we talk about structures, so basically your declarative sentence is to give information. So when you say Nigeria became independent in 1960, essentially you are just giving information. So, and this information does not have any coloration. It just gives you the content and the information, and in this way you end this kind of sentence with period mark. Then again, when you have a request, when you are having a request being made, so you also use the punctuation mark that you call period. So may I have your pen please? In this case, you are making you are not asking a question, you're not asking for information, so you are making a request, so you also use period mark. Then when you have abbreviation, like I mentioned before, after abbreviations and initials, you also can use a period mark. So like you have in doctor, examples here that you have a doctor, Mr., Mrs., AM, PM, of course, which means ante-meridian and post-meridian. Then you have PhD, of course. This PhD where you are using full stop here is the American spelling. So the American spellings normally use full stop. In the British spelling, you don't actually put, even though you have the PhD abbreviation, you actually don't use the full stop. But we're talking about the full stop or period market. So in the American spelling, you actually use it. Even your BA, like you are going to have now, you are going to put full stop there if you are doing American spelling. But if you are doing British spelling, you don't use it. Then USA, United States of America, that's the full meaning of USA. So you also put a period mark. Now the next one we are going to talk about is the question mark. So in question mark, you are asking a question. Remember I said like I said in the first one, in the period mark, that you're actually giving information, and the other thing that we use them for. The but in question mark, when you use question mark, is that it indicates that you are seeking for information. Now, um, let's look at this example. Why did you beat that child? How are you? Do you like rice? Now, in each of this, in this or these cases, the person is want to know, give your reason why you beat the child. The person wants to know how you are faring, and then the last one want to know whether you like, probably a person want to serve you rice or want to give you rice, I don't know, and they ask you whether you want to bet. Essentially the basic thing you need to know here is that you are seeking for information. Now, if a sentence contains more than one question, the question mark may be used after each separate part of a sentence. This most times, probably you may easily have it, especially in your a fictional work and all of that. But essentially, what you know is that to make it clear that the questions are being asked independently, then you ask. Let's see some examples. Will Amate marry George, or will Uduak? So the question is that who is it that will marry George? Of course, you are seeing a coordinated structure here, but that are standing independent of one another. So like I said, maybe in formal writing you may not easily have this kind of thing done, but most time you can have it, of course, operating an informal structure. Are we sure of his honesty, his commitment, his willingness? You're having a listing so of these nominal phrases. So and that is so in each case it is to indicate that these are independent things that you are asking. Then let's look at the exclamation mark. This is the third end punctuation mark. So the exclamation mark is used at the end of an exclamatory sentence, phrase, or clause to show strong feeling after statement which commands or those that imply immediate action, for emphasis, or to indicate an afterthought or ironical statement. Now, most times exclamation is an indication of emotional content of that structure. So that is the way maybe if the person is speaking phonetically, you can the rising voice can actually indicate, but here with the period, I mean with the exclamation mark, you can know there's a lot of emotion packed into that structure that you are seeing in black and white. So you say, oh, why should he say that? He's not asking a question, but the person was just expressing maybe frustration, but an emotional content within that structure. I like cakes. Shut it off. You see here now, this one is expressing the love for cake, the other one is giving a command and giving it with a voice where you cannot say no. Return the form today. Do not delay. So these are examples that you can have of a exclamation mark, and you can see essentially it's just a way of indicating the emotional content of the structure. Then let's look at the internal punctuation punctuation marks. So let's start with comma, the almighty comma. Now, what do you use comma for? The comma is used to separate words, phrases, or clauses in a series when there are more than two items. So when you want to have a list, you can have it. You can use comma to mark them off. So you went to the market to buy clothes, food, books, and some fruits. So here you are having it actually indicating a listing. Then use after an adverbial subordinate when the subordinate clause begins the sentence. So when you are having a subordinate clause and it's at the beginning of the sentence, just like I normally tell people, I don't know. Okay, let's just go on first, then I will come to that. So when you have finished my education, I work in Abuja. I mean, that's a big dream. That's a valid dream. Or I work in Benin. It depends on what you prepare, the city you have chosen. Now, I work in Abuja is the main clause, but then subordinate clause that is preceding have to be marked off with a comma. So that is what we are having about that. But then what I just want to make about that is that now when you also have writing your surname, just the way like I was going to say, just the way your surname comes before, I mean when it comes first in the presentation of your name, then you have to mark it up with comma. So that's also another important use that you have of comma. Now a comma should not be used to separate. So let's look at some don'ts about the comma. So a comma should not be used to separate the subject or complement from the verb unless there are other elements which break the continuity of the sentence. So if if you are having your subject, I've seen this done many times by many of us. If you want to give a statement, I don't know, I've had that problem with some of my staff in the office as dean, and they will I don't know where they got that from. This mistake must have been gotten from somewhere, as usual with the things that we have in Nigeria. You don't The subject of sentence cannot be marked up with comma, except that thing that you are marking off itself is a subordinate clause about that is probably giving more information about that subject, but it cannot be marked off from the center from this. I mean, the subject it is predicate must follow it. So let's look at this example. Life is the art of learning from one's mistakes. I mean, so I mean, life is now what is standing alone. So that doesn't make sense in this sentence. So of course it is wrong. Don't use the comma before and or connecting the last two items of the series. So let's look at this example. Jane and James so won the scholarship to study in Australia. Of course, maybe this you may say is even not is a very straightforward example that we are giving here. Now Jane and John won the scholarship to study in Australia is correct because there's no point marking up there because they are making a coordinated we have talked about coordination. You can look at the video on coordination. They are actually talking about the two subjects now being in coordinate form. So this is very important for you to remember. Then let's also look at another issue that you may have with comma. Now, the comma should also not be used between two independent clauses unless a coordinate conjunction is also used. So let's see this example. The patient does not like oral drugs. He always opts for objections. So this he always opts for injections. So in this case now, there's no point putting comma here, except you want to say that, okay, the patient don't like oral drugs. You can actually put a semicolon here instead of this or you put a word to connect them. So the patient does not like oral drugs because he always opts for injections, or so he always, I mean, you are just giving the reason why he opts for injection, so which is correct. Then patient does not like oral drugs, so you can put like I said, you can put your what is it called, semicolon, and that would probably mark it off, not a comma. So let's look at the semicolon. Now, semicolon is also another thing that many of us usually have issues with. The semicolon is used to indicate a stronger break than the comma. So the semicolon is mainly used to separate two independent clauses. So it can actually fill the position of a coordinating conjunction, essentially. So that was like we see in the previous example. So Mr. Estien's car broke down. Consequently, he was late for work. So these are two standing clauses that you have that they are signed. So you can actually stand in place of any of the connecting conjunctions. I would say so. Ahmed sleeps early, his wife sleeps late. So these are two standing independent clauses, and of course they are linked, and that's why so sorry about about this. So his wife should actually not have started with a bigger a senior, I mean, a capital letter. So his wife sleeps late actually should start with a small letter because it's a semicolon, but the mistake was made with because of putting the two independent clauses together as one sentence. So let's look at the column. So the column signals the strongest possible break within the sentence. So you remember we are talking about internal punctuation within the structure. So now it is almost as good as maybe a sentence is going to be indicated or stand alone. So in the case that a statement and the potential or a list is about to follow. So colon is it helps us to expect. It makes us to expect further information concerning the first part of the structure. So it is used in the following situation, like you see. There are three kinds of scripts: the mini, the midi, and the maxi. So when you say there are three kinds of plans, you may see a colon, you are expecting Somebody should tell you what are those three kinds of squares. Then learn how to use the following machines: 1. Computer. 2. Duplicating machine. 3. Calculator. So the column ends up, it gives us anticipation. Then we'll begin to expect further information from there. Now let's look at the next one, other punctuation. So let's look at capital letters. So it's used for proper nouns, it's used for personal pronoun I, and then at the beginning of a sentence. So let's see examples: Eka, Abuja, University of Uyo, University of Benin, University of Ibadan, National Open University of Nigeria. So you can give these are proper nouns. Iyabode Nwabueze. So these are proper nouns, and you start them with capital letter. Some of you make that mistake of writing your name in small letter, or especially on the social media. Please don't carry that to class. Don't carry that into formal writing. It shows you as a bad student. Then Benin City, okay, you have Abuja here, Nigeria. So these are proper nouns. Then you can also, what is your own name? You can use that practice and test that. Aisha and I have friends. So you see in this case now Aisha, then I, they are written in capital letter. Now today is Wednesday. Yes, that's good. The day of the week, the day of the week is also written like, because it's also a proper noun. Then the day of, the name of the month, the day of the month, the name of the month, whether I say December, is May, is January, they are written with capital. So don't make the mistake of writing them in small letter. It shows you that you are a poor writer. It shows your weakness that you're poor. Then we have parentheses. So parentheses are used in pairs to set off words, um, phrases, clauses which are explanatory or which are transitions or comments. So he paid 20,000 naira now for the hall. Now in bracket in you have the number. So it is used to kind of, okay, explain that this is what I wrote, and then this is the explanation of it, or this is another presentation of it in another way. But then my daughter's roommate is intelligent. Of course, in this case you can actually mark it also off with a comma, but most times maybe you just don't want to do that. You just want to give the information that is an intrusive information. Then in that case you put it inside the bracket, so that it is actually it's a part of the subject, because it's giving an explanation about the subject. So these are also uh, examples of punctuation marks that or parentheses in the usage. Then you also have other examples. You have the apostrophe, you have quotation marks, you have hyphen, you have ellipses, you have dash. So these are also other examples of apostrophe. Maybe I will do another video to extend this particular one. We have already spent, unbelievable, we have spent this much time on this particular topic. So sorry about that. I wanted this video to be short. So I guess I'll do another video on this by particular ones then. So let's look at these examples. You may also create yours, and then slow down men at work. How do you think it should be? Mobile Producing Nigeria Limited. How do you think we should render that? Mr. Aldo say I'm traveling by Akwa Ibom transport to Lagos. So you may use this to practice, and put it in the comment section, and I'll look at it. Thank you very much. So see you guys in the next video.